So the 2024 US election is just around the corner, and as I promised, today I'm gonna drop my official 2024 prediction with the electoral map. As you know, I have been promising this for weeks, for months, and today here I am. As you know, I have already said multiple times who I believe is gonna win, but I'm not gonna say it again because if there are people who are watching this channel for the very first time, I invite all of them, of course, to subscribe. But I'm not gonna spoil you who I believe is gonna win. But we're gonna do an analysis about who I believe is gonna win the swing states, and then after all of this, I will also, show you which are the other likely paths, and we're gonna also talk about many different things. But I hope it's gonna be a great video, and this video is a video which we need. We are just 3 days away from the election. So this is my final 2024 US election prediction with the Electoral College map. So let's start with the 7 swing states. Well, as you saw, this map is already compiled, or at least a big part of it, but all the other states are the states that aren't interesting. We're going to talk about the 7 swing states, which are Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and Wisconsin. These 7 states will most likely decide who's going to win the 2024 US election. We have the Rust Belt, we have Nevada and Arizona, we have Georgia and North Carolina, and I think it's going to be a very interesting election regardless of who wins. And it has been a very interesting campaign. It has been a very interesting 2 years, let's say, since Trump started running. And the last months have been very interesting. Many things have happened. I think that this is one of the most historic campaigns in the history, one of the most historic elections in the history of America. We have seen 2 assassination attempts on Trump. We've seen the Democrats swap their candidates in the last 4 months of the election. We've seen many things happen. So it's certainly been an interesting campaign. So let's start with Nevada, which is the state that I believe is the least important. It is the least important when it comes to points. I mean, they're not points, but when it comes to electoral votes, it has only gotten 6. So it's the least important out of the 7 swing states. Then we have Wisconsin with 10, then we have Arizona with 11, and then we have Michigan with 15, North Carolina with 16, and Georgia with 16. And the most important of them all is certainly Pennsylvania, that has gotten 19 electoral votes, sorry. So what's going to happen in Nevada? So Nevada is a very tight swing state. There is no doubt about it. It's a very tight one. We're going to see many things happen. And candidates haven't been focusing so much on Nevada because it's not the most important one. And we will see why it isn't the most important one. What really matters in this election, I think the 3 most important states are, I would argue, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and maybe Michigan, and not North Carolina, just because North Carolina maybe is a little bit more leaning to Trump. I mean, all of the 7 are important, but some states are more important than the others. So let's go through, Nevada. Nevada hasn't flipped red in decades. However, in 2022, the governor of Nevada has been a Republican, and since 2022 he's been a Republican, so that's an important shift. And Nevada has been shifting towards the right, so there is a chance that Nevada goes to Republicans. However, I do believe that Democrats will win it in the end. So I'll say that Democrats will win it by a very narrow margin. I am saying less than 0.5%. That's my prediction. That's I think how close it's gonna get in Nevada. But I believe that in the end, Democrats and Kamala Harris will hold the state of Nevada, but it's going to be a very tight margin. And it's going to be a very narrow margin. So I believe in the end, they will win it, but it's going to be very narrow. So that's my prediction, guys, with Nevada. So we will put it here. So Nevada, I think, not Republicans, I made a mistake. I think that Nevada goes to Democrats. It's going to be tilt margin. I don't know how it works when it comes to tilt, lean, likely, and safe. I think that lean is up until 7 points and tilt is 2 points or less. It must be something like that. So, but regardless of that, I think that Nevada is going to go to Kamala Harris by 0.5% or even less than that. So I'm predicting a very narrow win by Kamala Harris. So that's my prediction there. Then we've also gotten Arizona, which is a very interesting state. I think that this is one of the least interesting ones because I believe that the outcome is, I'm not going to say certain because in these 7 swing states, nothing is certain, but Arizona has been a Republican state in the last decades. However, in 2020, it flipped to Biden, but Biden was a much stronger candidate in 2020 than Kamala Harris is in 2024 because Biden was more liked, and also because Biden had many things in his favor occurring, for example, the BLM riots and all those sorts of things. And we know that when it comes to the black vote, Democrats are favored, and also COVID, which Trump didn't handle as well as he handled other things, and therefore that helped Biden. The Hunter Biden laptop story, which was suppressed, and that, could have changed the election, maybe. I'm not gonna say whether it would have changed the outcome of it because I don't know, guys, to be honest, because I haven't studied that story a lot, so I can't know. However, folks, I do believe that Arizona is going to go to Trump. It is going to be a pretty solid win. I think it's going to be like 2 points, maybe even 2.5. It's going to be from 1.5 to 2.5 points. Trump is going to win Arizona for many reasons. We know Hurricane Helene and all that has happened there. Hurricane Helene probably didn't help Arizona as much. Sorry, didn't help Harris as much in Arizona. And I don't feel like she's been focusing on Arizona as much as she should have if she had wanted to win the state. And now I'm talking as if Trump has already won it, but he might lose it. But I think that Arizona is possibly, with North Carolina, the safest state for Donald J. Trump. I think it's going to carry Arizona in these 11 electoral points, electoral votes. I think he's going to carry Arizona for the second time out of his 3 elections. In 2020, he didn't win it. However, it was very close. And as I said, Biden was in a much stronger position than Kamala Harris is now. So that's a comparison which doesn't make much sense. So I'm saying that Arizona is going to go to Donald J. Trump. Then we have the other 5 swing states. I am going to go now to North Carolina, guys. So North Carolina is, I'm going to go to North Carolina, not to Georgia, because Georgia I think is more interesting than North Carolina. I believe that North Carolina is going to go to Donald J. Trump. North Carolina is the only one out of these 7 swing states which has gone to Trump in both 2016 and 2020. Biden didn't manage to win North Carolina in 2020. He managed to win Georgia by the narrowest margin of the 50 states in the 2020 election. Unless I'm mistaken, he won Georgia by less than 0.25%, which is a very, very narrow margin. Unless I am mistaken, he won Georgia by 0.24%, so he won Georgia by like 10,000 votes. It was a very, very narrow win, but in the end, he managed to win it. And North Carolina went to Trump despite all the things, despite the fact that Trump didn't perform well in the 2020 election, and despite the fact that Biden was performing well in the 2020 election. But North Carolina still went to Trump, and therefore I'm going to say that it's going to be a pretty, I would say, comfortable win for Trump. I mean, even though comfortable isn't the most appropriate word to use in this 2024 election. However, I'm going to say that I believe that in the end, Trump's going to win North Carolina like he did in both 2016 and 2020. And I believe that Arizona and North Carolina are the safest states for Trump. They are the safest ones without a doubt. Let's not forget that Arizona is a state that is bordering Mexico, so it is part of the southern border. And as you know, immigration is an issue that favors Trump, and therefore that's going to be helpful when it comes to the election. So I believe that Arizona is going to go to Trump, and so is North Carolina. Then I'm going to go to Michigan. So I mean, I'm doing this in an order which is not planned. It's just casual, and I am doing this in an order in terms of which are the most interesting states and which are the tightest states. So Michigan, I think, is the bluest state. I think that Michigan is the bluest state. It's always been the bluest state out of the Rust Belt. However, what's interesting is that the Rust Belt, I believe, that hasn't voted differently from like the 90s. Yeah. So it means that the Rust Belt has always either gone fully to the Republicans or fully to the Democrats, and mostly to the Democrats. Because it was called the blue wall, and Trump managed to crack the blue wall utterly in the 2016 election by winning Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. All of these three states, I think that Trump won them by less than 1%, which is a very, very narrow margin again. So I believe that DJT is gonna he's not gonna win Michigan. I think that Michigan is the bluest state. I think that it is gonna go to Harris by like 1%, 1.5%. It's gonna be within 1 and 1.5%. This is how close this stage and the election as a whole is gonna be, I believe. And my prediction is that Harris wins Michigan, and my prediction is that she carries its 15 electoral votes. That's my 2024 prediction when it comes to Michigan. Then, like guys, we go to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin has always voted a little bit more. I mean, maybe out of these three rascal states, it has been historically, or at least in the last decades, the most right-leaning, even though, maybe we could argue that Pennsylvania is the most right-leaning. But when it comes to Wisconsin, Wisconsin is a state that in 2020 has gone to Biden by less than 1%, and in 2016 it has gone to Trump by less than 1%. What's going to happen in this 2020 election? So in this 2024 election, so I believe, guys, that Wisconsin is, in the end, by a margin of less than 1%. I think that we will talk about something like 0.3, 0.4%. I believe that it is going to go to Kamala Harris. I think that the Democrats will carry Wisconsin by a margin, as I said, that's going to be narrower than 1%. I am thinking about 0.5 or 0.6%. That's how narrow it is going to get, I believe. That's my prediction. So I think that Harris is going to carry Wisconsin by less than 1%. It's going to be very tight, but in the end, she's going to get it, I believe. And she's going to win both Wisconsin and Michigan. Now let's go to the two most interesting states. Because, guys, so I believe that Kamala Harris, and then we will also go through the rally schedule and all the rallies they've done in the last weeks, to see all of those sorts of things and to see, in which states they have been focusing. And then we will also go through the programs the candidates have for the remaining days of the election. So when it comes to Georgia, Kamala Harris, I believe she can win Georgia. So Georgia's been a Republican state for like the last 20, 30 years, except in 2020 when Biden won Georgia. So Biden won Georgia in 2020 by the narrowest margin any state was won in 2020, because he won Georgia by 0.24%, which is a very, very narrow margin. And I do believe that Georgia is going to be a very tight state. No, actually, I don't believe it's going to be as tight as other states. I believe that DJT is going to win Georgia. I believe that Trump's going to win it. I think that we're talking about a margin that goes from, I would say, so my prediction is that Arizona is going to go to Trump by like 2%. North Carolina is going to go to Trump by 2%. And Georgia, I'm thinking about 1.5%. That's how much the margin is going to be in this 2024 election in Georgia. I believe that Trump's going to carry Georgia by like 1.5%. That's my prediction when it comes to Georgia. I think that Arizona is 2%. Same thing for North Carolina. And if I had to give a range, I would say that both Arizona and North Carolina will go to Trump by a margin that is within 2% and 2.5%. And North Carolina is going to go to Trump by a margin which is within 1.5% and 2%. So I think that this is how tight it is going to be in Georgia. Not as tight in Wisconsin and Nevada, but I believe that in the end, Trump's going to win Georgia. It all comes down to Pennsylvania, guys. It all comes down to Pennsylvania. It has been the most important swing state. The candidates have been campaigning a lot in Pennsylvania. I saw Trump's schedule a couple of minutes ago before making this video, before starting to record this video, and he has like 3 events or 2 events in Pennsylvania in the last day of the election, not in the last day of the election, in the last day before the election, on the 4th of November. On the 4th of November, Trump has gotten a crazy rally schedule. He's gotten like 4 rallies in the same day. Regardless of whether you like Trump or not, I think that we can all agree that he's gotten the energy of a 20-year-old despite being 80 almost. So that's something which I believe, has to be praised, even though you might not agree with his political ideology. But it all comes down to Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is the state that's gonna likely decide the outcome of this 2024 election more than all the other states. Probably who wins Pennsylvania, but then we'll go through how a candidate can win the election without Pennsylvania. Probably, guys, Pennsylvania is gonna be the states that decides the 2024 election, the outcome of it. And guys, we have seen, how much importance Pennsylvania has had in this 2024 campaign, without a doubt. Many things have happened there. The assassination attempt on Trump, and I believe that Butler is going to vote for Trump. I think it is going to vote for Trump. I mean, it would be surprising if it were otherwise, unless the county of Butler, has been voting consistently for Democrats by like 4 or 5 points. But if it's like 1 point for Democrats, Trump's going to win Butler. But Butler, I don't know if it is the most important county. I'm not aware of these guys, to be honest, but I do believe, that Pennsylvania is the most important swing state. It also is the most important swing state because it is the one with the most electoral votes. However, guys, it is going to be a very, very, very important state, and I, guys, believe that in the end, this state is going to come down to the wire. Whoever wins it, is going to win it. They're going to win it by the narrowest of margin. Will it be the narrowest margin of the map? I believe it is going to be the narrowest margin. I think that we will talk about less than 0.3, 0.2%. I believe that we will talk about 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 votes, or even fewer than that. I believe that it's going to be as narrow as it can get. But guys, I believe that in the end, the person who's going to carry Pennsylvania, even though this person hasn't picked the best vice presidential candidate for the swing state of Pennsylvania, I believe that despite all of this, Kamala Harris is going to carry Pennsylvania, and I believe that she's therefore going to win the 2024 US election by 14 electoral votes. I believe she's going to win the election with 276 electoral votes, and Trump's going to win only 262. It all comes down to the wire, and I predict that Harris is going to win in this way. Let me know your thoughts and let me know your prediction, guys, But now, let's reset the map and let's see all the other scenarios. Okay, so we've seen all the scenarios. So now we're going to see all the scenarios. Sorry, I made a mistake there. And that was my prediction. Let me know yours. But let's see all the other potential scenarios. So let's go to the pathways that both candidates have to win the election. Let's start with Trump. So I think that Trump, in order to win the election, has to win Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. It is necessary that he wins those 3 states. If he doesn't win all of these 3 states, he's gotten very, very low chances to win the election. And the only thing which I believe, Kamala Harris has been campaigning in Georgia pretty heavily. We have to go through their campaign schedules. She's done some rallies there. She's done a rally in Atlanta, unless I'm mistaken. And, she's been doing loads of rallies there. But Trump, I believe, has to win Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. And that's the key for Trump. The most likely pathway for Trump is to win those 3 states, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and one of the Rust Belt states. That's the key for Donald J. Trump. He has to win these 3 states plus one of the Rust Belt states. And it can be either Wisconsin, and that gets him the win. It can be either just Pennsylvania, and that gets him the win. It can be Michigan. It can be, he has to win one of the 3 Rust Belt states. He has to win one of the 3 Rust Belt states. That's what Trump has to do. So the most likely pathway for Trump is to win Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and one of the 3 Rust Belt states, regardless of what Rust Belt states you're talking about. It can also be Wisconsin. That would be sufficient. That would be enough to bring him to more than 270. The other pathways he's gotten are losing Georgia, because I believe that Arizona, and I'm talking about the likely pathways, because I believe that losing North Carolina and Arizona, if Trump loses those 2 states, is not going to win the whole Rust Belt. Like, Arizona and North Carolina are the 2 states that are the most right-leaning in this 2024 election. Even when Harris was having her honeymoon, Trump was leading in both Arizona and North Carolina. So the only other scenario, the only other very likely pathway that I'm thinking about is that Trump loses Georgia. So if Trump loses Georgia, he has to win 2 Rust Belt states. That's what he has to do. And the 2 most likely Rust Belt states are, I mean, if Trump were to win, if I had to pick 2 Rust Belt states that Trump wins, they are certainly Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. If Trump wins Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and loses Georgia, he's won the election. So this is the other likely pathway for Trump, but I believe that the first one is the most likely one. I honestly think it is the most likely one. This one is a little bit more complicated because I don't think he's going to lose Georgia. But it might happen because Kamala Harris has been campaigning heavily in Georgia. And Georgia flipped blue in 2020, so it might happen again. But these are the 2 most likely pathways for Trump to win the election. Then when it comes to Kamala Harris, let's go to Kamala Harris. When it comes to Kamala Harris, guys, I believe that Kamala Harris's most likely pathway to win the election is winning the Rust Belt states. Kamala Harris has to win the Rust Belt states. She has to win all of them. She has to beat the blue wall. She has to win all of them. She has to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If she manages to win all of these 3 states, she's won the election. If Harris wins these 3 swing states, she's won the election. That's the most likely pathway. So Harris has to win all 3 of them, and she has to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania in order to win the election. The other scenario that I could think for Harris is if she loses Wisconsin and she wins Georgia, which would put the map in this way. With Harris winning Georgia and losing Wisconsin. That's the other thing which might happen. So that's what could happen. We could see Harris winning Georgia and losing Wisconsin. But I do believe it is not going to happen. The most likely pathway for Harris to win the election is without a doubt conquering all the Rust Belt states. That's what she needs. She needs to win all 3 of them. She needs to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I think that North Carolina is out of the reach. Same thing for Arizona, and Nevada doesn't make much of a difference. Because let's imagine that she wins Nevada, but she loses Wisconsin. In that case, she would have to win Georgia. So that's the situation for Harris, I believe. I believe that these are the only likely pathways for both candidates. That's what I think, to be honest. That's my opinion. And it is going to be interesting to see how the election plays out. But these guys are my, likely pathways for both candidates. And my prediction, again, I'm going to put it again on the map. I'm going to rebuild it for you. But my prediction, guys, is that Trump's going to lose, Harris is going to win, and I believe it's going to occur in the following way. We're going to see Harris carry the Rust Belt states and Nevada, and Trump is going to carry Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. But that's my prediction. It might be wrong, it might be right, we will find out. But, this is my prediction. Let me know, guys, yours. Now, guys, let's go through how the 2 candidates have been campaigning, because it's interesting to see that, and I think that it is an important piece of the analysis that I have just made with you guys, and then we will close this video because it's